Hey guys, and welcome to episode 23 of the Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast. After another couple week hiatus, we are back in action. I'm your host, Chris Lollis, and with me tonight is the living legend, Larry Cox.
What's going
And
on?
how you doing? And long time no see for our other compadre, Mr. Jarrad Redwine. How you doing, Jarrad?
I'm good, guys. I missed you guys.
We missed you, Jared.
We have missed you for sure. So it's glad to have you back with us. Looking at the way the team's set up right now, we're 12 and a half games out of first place in the National League Central. So I guess it's safe to say we can piss on any chance of that happening. I mean, I think Fangraphs has is like 1% chance of coming back, but I think we're four games out of the wild card, and we come off a series here with Detroit where it was a must-win win today. You lose 2 or 3 against Pittsburgh, that kind of stung. So what are you guys' thoughts on just the last couple series and seeing how the Cardinals are in by a thread, of the running, but 4 games out, they've got their work cut out for them.
Go ahead, Jared.
Well, the last couple series, I mean, the Cardinals have played okay, in my opinion, but it's been a lot of the same of what we've seen before. They haven't lived up to their expectation. They almost lost today's game. You would like to see them, within like 2 games, ideally, of the second wild card spot in my eyes. But 4 games out is not too bad. It's not as bad as we thought we would be at this time. A lot of teams have not lived up to their hype this year. And a lot of Cardinal fans, are upset about the Cardinals not making big moves. But take a look at the Padres. Look at the amount of players they've got and continue to go after. And they're 1 game in front of us. Or 3, I'm sorry. But they're 1 game out of a wild card spot, excuse me. They haven't done anything near what everyone thought they would. So just spending money and trying to go get people is not the right answer. It's trying to find the right mix of guys. Just how we thought getting Arenado and our pitching staff being so deep in the rotation, the bullpen was going to carry us all year, and we found out that that's obviously not the case. But they haven't played out of it. They've done just enough to stay alive, and being 4 games out of a wild card spot with in baseball a decent amount of time left. We still have a full month. A lot can happen, and a lot of that can change in a couple series. And hopefully the Reds lose tonight, which looks like they might. So. Hopefully so. We're not in too bad of a spot. Things start clicking here in the next week or so. But the Cardinals have got to win. Some of these key match. They got to win these series coming up, and they have to try to maybe get a sweep or 2 of some of these lesser teams.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Larry? I mean, it was obviously not ideal. We come up on a stretch of games, and we've had this stretch before where we went up against Detroit and Pittsburgh and didn't get it done. So we thought for sure this time, make some headway here. And, I know from the remainder of the season, it's, win series, but they're going to have to get some sweeps in there too. So what's your takeaway for the last couple series?
I think I don't get it. Just surprises me why we're not putting these teams away. But I guess when you're still doing the same thing every game, it's not gonna change. I think the whole Lars Nootbaar coming in, I think that's been the biggest change we've seen so far, and that kid's just excelled. For those of you who didn't know or don't speak to Chris on a daily basis, ever since we drafted him, that's been his favorite player. He just goes around saying Lars all the time. So, but I just, like I said, I mean, the Royals and Detroit and even Pittsburgh, those teams are teams we should have swept, should have put us in better contention. Instead, we're losing games, and then to even lose to Pittsburgh at all. They're a AAA team, if that. I mean, they've got a lot of players that would probably be on most teams AA the roster. But I don't get why we keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And I think a lot of times we see the fans' frustrations on our group with the whole, fire Schilt, fire Mozeliak. Again, it comes down to it doesn't matter who you put on the field if they're not participating or they're not doing their job or excelling if you're supposed to. I mean, it could be a lot worse. You could have $200-300 million guys sitting in your infield, and you're just now 1 game behind the Reds for the second wild card in a division you're supposed to win. So, there's that. And then how much money did Philadelphia throw around last year and the year before thinking they were going to have that big run? So I think right now it comes down to chemistry. I think it comes down to our players doing what they're supposed to do and getting the job done. I mean, like the Bader error today. I mean, the errant throw we seen today that cost us a run there. It's the little things in baseball, I think, that make the biggest difference. And I think we haven't excelled at those little things.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's been some good news and big news with the Cardinals, but some not so good news is Jack Flaherty hitting the injured list yet again. That was kind of something that we've been bit by the injury bug, but other teams have too. So I hate to use that as an excuse of why the Cardinals, have struggled so badly. But you've had him miss a significant amount of time. Michaelis is just now coming back. KK spent some time on the injured list, and you've had all year without Hicks and Hudson. So really, the Cardinals have thrown everything they can, to try to get this right. And to have Flaherty come back and have a good start and then now on the injured list again, that hurts his team a lot, really. And I don't know if you guys watched his post-game interview where he was pretty pissed off and, voiced his frustration. And, people in the group, they thought, hey, give up a couple home runs. This is just Jack, basically being like, okay, mystery ailment. I didn't want to look bad and give up a couple home runs, but I don't think Flaherty's that type of a guy. I think he, obviously you get asked questions from the media and you're going to respond accordingly to how you feel. And he was in a pissed off mood, but your takeaways on how big of a blow this is to the Cardinals. I mean, you've got J.A. Happ and Lester, but you've got LeBlanc on the injured list, and KK could slot back into a starting role, but this really does hurt this team, especially with some series coming up that they need to win.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, I guess, as Cardinal fans myself, when it happened, I kind of really didn't pay much attention to it. It really sucked, but I guess I'm kind of numb to it because we've had it happen to us so much this year with, it seems like everyone and around every corner we're having problems. The only thing we haven't had is Goldschmidt and Arenado have both been healthy, and those have been about the only two who played on Jinx.
Knock on wood.
Just knocked on this desk here, but I mean, the Flaherty thing sucks. I mean, obviously, a lot of people don't agree with his stance on a lot of public things, but he's a competitor and his teammates love him. So I like seeing him on the team. He kind of likes to win. He kind of has that Chris Carpenter attitude. I think will come out a little bit as he gets older. So obviously not good news. And the way he reacted, I think it's a lot more serious than everybody realizes, or else he probably wouldn't have been that upset about it. But I think probably preliminary checking in the clubhouses, it's not looking too good. Maybe some kind of scope or something. I'm not sure. I don't want to over elaborate, but just if it was something simple or just a little twinge in his shoulder, I feel like he wouldn't have had that reaction. So I feel like it looks serious. We're going to get a second opinion type thing. And that's why he didn't want to talk about it. But, LeBlanc looked pretty good for us. We're good at these reclamation projects. I mean, look at the Phillies. They went out and got Kyle Gibson, and he hasn't played well. He was doing great, and everybody in St. Louis wanted him also. But since he's been to the Phillies, he hasn't performed very well. Lester has been really good or really bad. I thought he pitched a good game today until the Cardinals lost it. Happ has looked pretty good for us. I mean, all things considered, Ponce came in last night and pitched pretty well for Jack and kept the Cardinals in it. But we've had the options, and I think it was kind of like a low risk, high reward move. I know you guys have already kind of talked about it close to the trade deadline, but I wasn't like blown away by the moves of Lester or Happ. I would have rather have gotten Gibson, but you never know how things are gonna mix out, and it looks like things are good. Hopefully Mikolas comes back. If Mikolas comes back and he's healthy, that's like going out and trading for a number 3 guy. So everything's up in the air. I don't know what's up with Kim. It seems kind of weird how they said they wanted to rush him back to get in the bullpen, but he wasn't gone for very long. So he's kind of had a back problem all year. So I'm not sure how reliable he's going to be, or maybe they think he's not capable of going in the rotation. But we've just been hit by injuries. So, I mean, I'm not surprised, but we really obviously we need pitching somewhere. And we went out and have got like 3 starters in the last, month and a half, and we still need starters. So I don't know. I don't know where the Cardinals turn from here other than trying to call someone up, but we're still in the race of things. And I think Mozeliak thought we can make a move and try to bring in a couple of guys, and if so, great. If not, we have a lot of money coming off the books next year, as we've talked about also, and maybe make some moves. Who knows?
Yeah, and what are your thoughts, Larry? I mean, there was a couple of guys that we picked up for the bullpen. McFarland has looked pretty good. Diaz has looked pretty good. As far as at least giving us some sort of option in the bullpen where you're not having to go to Andrew Miller, who is the farthest thing from lights out. And when you see guys like Cabrera going out there and mowing a guy down today, I hate that they don't put him back in for a second inning. You bring in Gallegos, and I'm not saying Gallegos can't get it done, but I think that's a lot of it too. Is these guys, Schilt doesn't let them go 2 innings. He has like an automatic seventh, eighth, ninth, and really a sixth because our guys don't typically go past 5, with the exception of Wainwright. So, Larry, what are your thoughts on how the Jack Flaherty injury really impacts the team going forward the remainder of the year?
Well, I agree with what Jarrad said that, we came out of the trade deadline and we assumed that, we were going to do something. But then again, we all know that the asking price is usually pretty high for the Cardinals. Everybody wants our young pitching prospects, or, they're Gomber, one of those guys, or not Gomber, geez, mine just went blank. But, and that's the thing. They want some of these young guns that we have. And for a stretch run that we may not even make that wild card, is it worth the asking price? And then we knew we had 3 pitchers coming off the IL. So really you were getting 3 solid starters coming back. That was as good as maybe trading for a Kyle Gibson or one of those other guys. So like Jarrad said, you thought you're getting Kyle Gibson, but he's never really been that great of a pitcher. I mean, he's been a workhorse. He's done his job. Don't get me wrong, but he's not an ace by any means. So why would you give up a young potential ace to get him for the next couple of months? I think a lot's going to come down to, even like Jarrad said again, is what do we do in the postseason when this all ends? So I think it's going to become the mash unit decision is in John Mozeliak is what does those numbers really look like for us making that run? I mean, we got beat by Pittsburgh, so is the really in the cards, so to speak, and the pun isn't intended, that we're going to make that second wild card spot. Well, it's going to come down to what do we do against the Brewers? Well, we kind of shit the bed last time we played them. So why would that be different when we're playing in Milwaukee next time? So I'm a little fearful. What I would say is, like I've said, since I think begins spring training, bring the kids up, let them play, and it's time. Let's sink or swim with some of these guys. You want to send out those young kids and find out what they got. Let's see what they've got now. Why go into 2022 with a whole bunch of question marks about starting pitching? Throw the Cabreras and those guys out there and let them start, quit putting them in the bullpen. Maybe one of those guys will catch fire and maybe they will say, hey, I want to be in the rotation. Toss Reyes in there. Let him start a game. This is the time you take those chances now and find out what you have. And if they're not going to do it now, then you have a clear-cut picture of what you need come off season. Because like you said, Kim's a free agent. You're going to lose, then you have Waino's a free agent. And who thought the healthiest pitcher on our starting pitcher would be the 38-year-old Wainwright? That's the thing. He's the most healthy of all of them. He hasn't missed a start, has he, this year? Oh, yeah, I guess he did miss the one. Yeah, he did miss one start. They set him back. But so why keep running these guys out? Even like Flaherty getting hurt, or if he comes back tomorrow, are you going to throw him out there and risk another injury for next season and him miss an entire season? Or just, hey, you know what? Let's just shelf the kid, let him recoup, and let's just start his off season and golf game right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, not wanting to rush Flaherty back, especially when it's, a season where, I hate to say we're completely out of it, because 4 games out of the wild card, I mean, you could make a run, and especially with so many games against, you've got the Reds, that we play, that we could leapfrog them, if we took care of business against them. But, some of the younger guys like a Liberatore, they're not going to start their clock yet. And I know that we do get an expanded roster in September, but it isn't, quite as expanded as what it has been. I think Junior Fernandez will be like a pitcher that we carry that, he might log you some innings in the bullpen, and maybe you could move, somebody like Cabrera in for a start here and there. But, it's not ideal. A lot of fans, they, jump in the group and they're like, hey, a day game today. Obviously it was noon in St. Louis, hot as hell out. You still got the COVID stuff going on. but the Cardinals are not a winning product, So like you look out there and Tina made the comment, man, that looks like the Marlins are playing. There's nobody in the stands, and I said, I think it's a combination. It was a whirlwind, especially today. Like I said, a hot day at noon on a Wednesday. You're not going to get a huge crowd. You're playing a team like Detroit. That's not really a money making type of a game that you want to go draw, but it's just crazy to see that our fan base at this time of year normally is really excited and pumped up, and there hasn't been a lot of reason to get fired up about this team. I mean, Arenado makes some awesome plays. Newt Bar, has been pleasant to see making some highlight catches and coming through, but there's just been every time we take 2 steps forward, we're taking 3 backwards. And, it's really deflating. I'm sure it is for the players too. I mean, it is for our fans. So I don't know, it's a different kind of feel this season. October baseball doesn't seem like it's right at our fingertips like it normally is.
I think honestly, though, I think the last 2 years have just been so out of the norm, period. I mean, I think, we all kind of look at the world as a whole, and we see that we're not living a normal life or normal times like we had in the past before last year. And so, I mean, I can understand that side of it, that things are a little different. But I can also say, that even if we're in a pennant race, how many people are really going to be in the stands to watch Detroit play the Cardinals in August? I mean, and I know just watching our fans in our group that there is frustration with Mozeliak and DeWitt and, Grish, I guess. I don't know what everybody's mad at him about, but and I get it that, maybe if I don't go to the game, maybe they'll pay attention to it. Well, I don't know. To me, I'm just the opposite. If my team's struggling, I think if you go to the games, you show the support when they're struggling, maybe that makes the ownership see that, hey, maybe we do have those fans that are diehard, that are here loyal. Maybe we do reward them, or maybe they have a spending plan for this offseason. I mean, we know what our shortcomings are at this point. We're looking at, 2 starting pitchers, possibly a closer. And also we still need somebody that can hit the damn ball. I mean, and so what are you looking at? A shortstop for sure. I mean, after that weak ass crap that DeYoung today, has a chance to win the game in the 9th, and with 1 out and he grounds the ball, get the ball in the air, do your job, dude.
I think also it's a victim of bad scheduling. I would personally, if I was living closer to Busch Stadium, I would like to see the Cardinals play the Tigers. They come to town every 6 years. You got Miguel Cabrera, who, just became historic with his number of home runs. And, I would do it on a weekend in the evening because school is also in session instead of going to watch the Pirates again. I'm kind of one of those guys. I like interleague play because, I listened to the game today while I was working, and normally if it had been excuse me,
game 1 to be played right now.
I wouldn't even, I guess, because my internet's so bad, it finally loaded the video. I'm one of those guys that likes to listen to it instead. If I look at my schedule, oh, they're playing the Pirates again for the 8th time or 12th time or 15th time, I'll catch the highlights later and check the box score because I have stuff going on. But I would have liked to have seen it. But I think it's like Chris said, it's a combination of things, and it's been bad luck. You're not expecting them to win. I think COVID does have a little bit to do with it for a lot of people not going. And I think and some of it has to do with fans are not happy with the moves that the front office has made. So I think it's a combination of things, but I guess you could look at either way to say why attendance is down or why, I guess you could play victim's advocate all day long, but the Cardinals have to perform, and management's going to have to take a hard look at things this offseason and decide where they want to allocate money. A lot of money's coming off the books. They re-signed Yadier, which Larry was excited about. So, I guess we'll see what happens in the offseason. And really, once COVID goes away, we'll kind of really have an idea.
Yeah, that's a good segue to the Yachty deal. I mean, you guys' first impression of, I think we all figured that Molina would want to come back another year. I mean, he's played pretty good up until, recent. He just kind of looks like he's worn down, but still he's one of the top catchers out there. I mean, he's performing at a high level considering his age, and his legendary status. I know that's something that Larry kind of ribs me on. Would you rather have nostalgia, or would you ever rather have somebody out there tearing it up? But I don't know that Kisner really brings you too much better than what Molina is able to, other than giving him more days off. I think Yachty could benefit from having that. But the news that he not only accepted a deal, I mean, it come out earlier that they were negotiating, accepted a 1-year deal and has come out and said, it's going to be it. 2022 is going to be it for me. And, he's looking forward to putting that red jacket on. And I think the whole thing is this is going to be a domino effect. I think, bringing him back, Wainwright, the way he's pitched and carried this team, I cannot imagine what this team will be without Wainwright this season. I think it's all but, a certainty that Wainwright follows suit and signs a 1-year deal also. But overall, your thoughts when you heard it? I mean, I know we kind of expected it, but just in general, like what are your thoughts on having Molina basically come back and saying that it's going to be it? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I love it. I love the farewell tour. I'm glad he's coming back for a year. I'm obviously he's not the Yachty of old that we're all used to, but I'm excited about it. We've talked about this. Like, you have a lot of catchers out there that are making a lot of money that hit 200 and hit 9 home runs in a year. So I mean, the catcher position, really is one of those spots to where you're just looking for someone that can do the job. It's not expected to be a huge production point. Look at all the catchers that have came and were really good and then had really good a few years, like Jonathan Lucroy and even Joe Mauer. Those guys came and went quick, and they didn't stay at catcher the whole entire time. Even Buster Posey came in and was really good for him and Yachty were neck and neck for a long time, and then he kind of went away for a few years, and then this year he's been back after he opted out last year, and maybe that entire year of not getting bruised up behind the plate did Buster some good. But Yachty's been reliable and more than reliable, and Kinsner has played more this year than we thought he would, and Kinsner has not made the most of his opportunities like I would say probably in the early going Nootbaar has. So far he's done well and been more than serviceable, but you have to look at what are you going to do next year. Kinsner's probably not going to be that guy. Herrera's going to be a year or two away. So I mean, you could have Yachty and Kinsner. I think they should still try to trade Kinsner, kind of like they did Carson Kelly, to get something out of him this offseason. They're not going to get much because they've you can look at it two ways. You can say the Yachty thing, but you have to look at Kinsner, I think, separate and say the Cardinals probably missed the boat on him and it's their fault because that ship came and sailed. So, they kept him in Memphis for a couple years because they didn't want him to sit on the bench, but now he's just sitting on the bench. And now he's getting into his late 20s, so that window's coming on. But somebody would definitely pick him up. I mean, Jorge Alfaro for the Marlins that came from Philadelphia, he was supposed to be the next big thing, and he's just been absolutely horrible. The only other good catcher I can think of that's stands out in my mind that's really good is JT Realmuto, and they're paying him a ton of money, way more than I would pay any catcher. So, I mean, if Yachty did leave, you're going to go out and find some. The Cardinals are going to go somewhere. They love to sign catchers. You're going to pay someone a few $1 million. Yachty's jersey sales and merchandise and just the fans loving Yachty is going to bring you a few more million. The farewell tour is going to be a big deal. It's going to bring fans to the ballpark, whether they're at home or on the road. Everyone's going to do the whole gifting thing. I think it's a good idea. I think it's good for baseball. It's good for Cardinals fans to be able to see him on the way out. There's no question of is this going to be his last year? Is he going to come back? Is he going to wear another uniform? That'd be horrible to see. And I think it kind of helps solidify things for guys like Wainwright. I mean, Wainwright has pitched amazing this year, not to get off topic of Yachty, but I think it just kind of cements the fact that he's probably going to be back next year. And then maybe with the money off the books and it being Yachty's official last year in a farewell tour, that they go out and they make some big moves and try to make something happen next year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. And Larry, I know your hot opinion about Molina, and not that you hate on the guy. I mean, I understand the difference in the baseball part of it and the fandom part of it. But go ahead and give us your take on when you heard the news, because I have you on record of saying Molina is not coming back and Wainwright's not coming back. Wainwright's going to the booth. So here it is.
I have said all year I love Yadier Molina. I have since he put on the uniform. I think he's by far probably one of the best all-around catchers we've ever had. And that's saying a lot. I'm a Ted Simmons fan. Always have been. But I think at some
Did you hear
point,
what Ted Simmons said?
what's that?
Did you hear what Ted Simmons said the other day?
I did not.
He said that Yadi's the greatest catcher he's ever seen in his lifetime.
And
He could just be saying it because of the Hall of Fame thing,
right, yeah. But I would disagree with that statement because I think Johnny Bench is probably the best all-around catcher I've ever seen play in my lifetime. I mean, you guys are a little bit too young to remember those guys in their heyday. And I mean, that was just it. But like I said, all that aside, yes, I understand the farewell tour, but how many times are we going to go through this? I mean, is he going to next year say, "Oh, I'm going to play one more season," and you guys are going to go, "Oh, great, he's here for another year. Yay." No, I'm sorry. The guy ran out of gas in June. Please let him go home. Get him a house in Florida, Boca Raton, sit on the beach, drink Mai Tais. I don't care. I love the guy, but you know what? I think he's killing our pitching staff because he doesn't move behind the plate. And yes, everybody can watch this. Everybody can see it. I don't care because like I said, I've been telling you for 2 years, Lollis, the guy sits up behind the plate and he doesn't move. And everybody wants to know why our pitchers can't pitch. Have them in his younger days. I remember the days. Remember the old days? Bounce the ball. He can't do that anymore because he can't move to the ball. The ball hit him in the chest and stuck to his chest protector 2 years ago. Remember? And he still couldn't find it. But no, all in all, just kidding. All aside, I love the guy, and yeah, I think he should go out as a Hall of Famer, and I think he deserves what he gets as far as everybody leaving and him, the farewell tour and all that. But again, I'm mixed emotions because, like I told you before, I'm about winning, and it's time for this team to just kind of roll all that out. And let's just say, hey, you know what? Dump some money in this Mo, and let's go for the gold. Let's quit playing the fan favorite crap. And if that means Yadi and Waino both have to go, then let them go. I mean, I get it. I do. I honestly do. Ozzie Smith's my favorite player to ever play this game. And I watched Royce Clayton step in there, and I hated Royce with every freaking ounce of being in my body. And then I hated Tony La Russa for the way he treated Ozzie Smith then. And I think you're kind of doing that exact same thing again. You're putting a manager in a position where he has to play Yadi, whether he's hurt or not, because Yadi's Yadi. And I think that's just, you're setting the wrong tone. So, but like Jared said, is Knizner really, is he ready to play? Is he going to be a better player? I don't know. If we gave him 500 at bats, would he hit more? Don't know. If he played 100 games instead of a game here and a game there, would he be better? I don't know, but I'm willing to find out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the crazy things too is, in my opinion, they've both been, obviously, like we said, what would this team be without Wainwright this season? And everybody was, not everybody, but there was a lot of people ready to move on, last season, be like, just hang it up, Wainwright. And Yadi, he has wore out, but he was, doing well enough to get an all-star nod, even though it was a fill-in type of thing. I get that too. But it's not like they're putting up Matt Carpenter type of numbers where it makes absolutely no sense where he's not contributing to the team, and that we're just hanging on to these guys only for namesake. They still do bring a lot of value, I think, to the team, both on the field and off the field. A thing that I posted on our page earlier, and I've seen some clamoring about it. We touched on it when Albert went to the Dodgers, but with the DH possibly coming, and you've already got Molina back, Wainwright likely to come back, would you take a flyer on Albert Pujols and just have the ultimate farewell tour? I think if that happens, obviously Pujols' numbers isn't what, something that we have a hard on about, be like, we've got to go get this guy. But if you had those three in a Cardinal uniform for a final farewell tour, I don't think COVID or anything is going to stop the fans from coming and seeing that, excitement that would bring. So what would you guys' opinion be if they would go out and make a move like that?
So we actually go 0-165. That's what you're saying.
Well, I don't know that it could be a whole lot worse than the way this season has gone, but I don't think it would be that bad. I mean, not ideally that Pujols would be who you would want in a DH spot when you've got guys like Newt Barr that I think could fill in, to a spot like that, be your fourth outfielder, or if Gorman is ready and you could put him in that role, or if you go out and get a veteran, not quite as old as Pujols, that can still contribute at a high level. But if you could bring those three legends back, I think the fan excitement, you want to see them win, but I think that would soften the blow of maybe they could realize, what we're watching. Because I think a lot of our fans don't appreciate seeing Yachty and Wainwright take the mound together as a battery and be like, damn, we've been blessed for 15 plus years of seeing this. I mean, we do want to win ultimately. Every fan wants that, but to sit back and just be like, when these guys are gone, they're gone. They're not coming back.
So, I mean, I don't want to put him on my fantasy team or anything, but Albert back for another year, I would buy into that. I know a lot of people wouldn't, but I'm thinking about it with multiple things. And there's kind of three things. There's the baseball and the performance side, right? And then there's the money in the front office side, and then there's the third part, which is the heart side and the love of the game side. And it's probably not the best as far as stats go. Money will probably be a wash because he won't ask for a lot with the money that the Cardinals are going to have available. I could definitely see it being performance based. But as far as, the heart and the love part of the game and seeing him play in St. Louis for so many years, and then feeling the pain and anguish of when he went to the Angels and losing him, just seeing him in a different uniform, how horrible that was. I think to have him come back for a final year would be great. And, if Albert came back for a year, if they could figure out how to make it work, if he did play bad, it would, not that anyone's going to play bad intentionally, but I think he would do everything he could to try to make it a successful attempt. And I think he's already kind of acknowledged a diminished playing role, with LA and stuff. He's not playing a lot, but he hasn't been unproductive in his time with the Dodgers. They've made it work, and he hasn't been DHing. So, you look at some of the other guys you have on the bench, and you say, would you like to have Albert Pujols on your bench for a final go, or would you rather, have some of these other guys that we've had like Hurst and stuff on your bench that's not really going to matter? So, and they would probably add an additional roster spot, would be my opinion, if they had the DH in the National League. I'm assuming they would probably add one. Due to the collective bargaining agreement, they're going to want to add, roster spots because more money for more players. But I would definitely go for that. I think Wainwright, Wainwright coming back would almost be a no-brainer at this point. Anyone says that it's bad to sign Wainwright, to me, it's pretty it's an unintelligent statement, because Wainwright has been amazing. His son of a bitch. Wainwright has been, actually, he's in the top of the rankings for several stats as far as, he's not going to blow 100-mile-an-hour fastball past these guys. But if you look at his numbers, just his wins, he's been a victim of not getting enough wins again, but his ERA is good. He's pitched a lot of innings. He hasn't been hurt, and he's figured out how to pitch at it, for baseball, make it sound bad, especially because I think we're all older than he is, but at his advanced baseball age, he has found a way to make it work. And with the numbers he's put up the last 2 years, you almost can't not bring him back or offer him a contract, especially where we don't know what arms we're going to have, and we're going to have a lot of holes, and people have to come somewhere. And to have, unless he retires and says he's done, which I don't think he will if he's still performing at a good level like he has this year, I don't see him just saying, okay, I'm done, because he does love the game and he's close with Yachty, and I definitely could see him coming back for another season. And I would love that signing more than the Yachty one, just because I want to see them both go out as Cardinals. You don't see that anymore, especially none of these players stay with the same team except for maybe Mike Trout. Probably will end up at, it's a thing of the past, and I like it, and I think they can still do it, and they can still put together a team that's going to win. That was kind of a long answer, but it's kind of tough to answer it short.
No, I totally get it, and it's something personally I would love to see. I don't think that ought to be where the buck stops, where you bring those three back and call it a successful off season. I think the Cardinals do have to address some things, like hopefully signing a shortstop, or getting a top level arm that maybe pushes Wainwright back in the rotation but keeps him in the rotation. And I do know you.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, it's kind of weird because you asked me about, who holds it. You went to White. Same thing. for some reason. I'm lumping them all together because of what possibility could be.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, having Albert back, I mean, a lot of fans, they absolutely, and we're a part of that too. We hated to see him go. We understood, that giving him that much money for the declining years was not really feasible. And really, if we would have done that, I don't think we would have been able to have Yachty and Wainwright as long as what we have. But to have a chance at getting him back and having those three, I think it's an iconic move. And with the money coming off the books, I don't think signing those three really takes a big hit on the cap of what the Cardinals could spend this offseason. I think you could bring those three guys back and go out and improve this team and make it a really hard push for a championship and be like, we're not content with just making the playoffs and seeing where we go from there. But, Larry, I know you've voiced opinions on Wainwright and Molina, but what about Albert? If we have that DH and, for nostalgia's sake or for the business perspective, what would you say if Mozeliak went out and made that happen?
Hold on a second. I'm on the phone with Trevor Rosenthal right now. He wants to come on too. Skip Schumacher wants to play second base. Come on, guys. Seriously. Guy's 50 years old. Let him retire.
I feel like that's not a fair comparison.
It's a totally fair comparison, man.
Trevor Rosenthal, Skip Schumacher, not Wainwright, Yachty, and
let's call them all. Chris Carpenter, man. What are you doing on Tuesday, buddy? We need you to come pitch a couple innings.
Larry's got John Jay on speed dial.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
No, I won't be calling John Jay anytime soon. Trust me. No, I mean, I get it. I really do. I mean, I like nostalgia, but you know what? Let's have a Hall of Fame game and let them play in that. But other than that, if they want to make millions of dollars, I know what you can do. You just bring in a dunk booth and you put Albert's wife in the dunk booth, and DeWitt can make all the money he wants because everybody's going to throw balls at him. So other than that, just let it go. Let's play winning baseball, guys. Let's bring in, I don't care. Bring in somebody that can play shortstop that we're going to spend a couple dollars on. Let's bring one of the kids up and let them play DH, and let's move on with life. Dude, I've been a Cardinals fan before you guys were born. I've seen great players come and go, and I don't want to see Ozzie Smith at 50 years old playing shortstop. I don't want to see.
Yeah, but this is the same guy that said he just got mad that they benched Ozzie Smith.
I know, but he wasn't 50. He was 40, Albert Pujols is 50 years old, guys. Let it go. He's half a century, dude. He's my age.
Pujols has been 40 10 different times.
Exactly, man. Let's move forward with this already.
You guys don't believe that.
Oh, I don't believe it's the age he says he is either, though.
You can't look at Wainwright's numbers, though, and say he's not worth a multi-million-dollar contract.
I would give Wainwright a contract. Of all the three that we mentioned, Wainwright would be the first one I would have signed. He's lived up to the contract they gave him the last 2 seasons. The incentives and everything they laden his contracts with, he's earned every dime of it. And I get it. I really do. I mean, I love seeing the birds on the bat on all three of them. When Albert left, I got it. I understood it. I wasn't heartbroken. I hated to see the guy go. Don't get me wrong. I know how hard he played. But I also seen him limp around first base to second base. I seen him. He couldn't hardly move. Why would anybody give him that kind of money for him to stay? It didn't make any sense. And, I mean, we would have never been in the World Series, not once, but twice with him on the roster. I mean, that's just how it is. And like I said, if they brought Albert back and they said, okay, April 1st, you're going to play a DH and we're going to sign you a one day deal. And then you retire as a Cardinal. I'm happy as all get out, man. I'd buy the jersey. I'd go all out. I'd go ape shit just like you guys do. But as far as for a whole season, I don't want him on the roster. He's blocking some young kid from playing. It's time to move forward. Quit going backwards. If you want him on the roster, then I don't want to hear either one of you complain next year when Pittsburgh is ahead of us in the standings.
Hey, if we don't get Pujols for a DH, you know that Matt Carpenter is going to be throwing his name in the hat.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. Matt Carpenter's not coming back, dude. He's done. Put a fork in him. He's done. Him, Miller, they're coming off the books. Dexter Fowler. Why don't we just bring Dex back? He can play left field some more. He's a free agent next year. But, and that's just it. Like I said, we're losing money. Why bring in more dead weight? Let's spend some money. Let's go get a Trevor Story or one of those guys that, instead, we're going to end up with Simeon. That's who we're going to get. He's having his one good year in Toronto and he's going to use it up. We're going to sign him to a 5-year deal. He's going to come in. He's going to bat 137 and you guys are going to be ticked we let Young go. I'm having a good day today. I don't care, man. Let's have fun with this.
God damn.
Well, you're not wrong.
I was gonna say, Jared, how bad did you miss being on here and having to deal with this shit?
I'm about to use that internet connection as an excuse. I gotta go. No, I mean, you do have a valid point. That's what we talked about with baseball. You don't know, and when the young kids coming up to play, you don't know. Everyone says bring up Gorman or bring up Libator, but if you look at the numbers, these guys have not been doing well in AAA. So I mean, Libator's been better as of late, but I mean, you don't know you're going to get anything better, so to speak. And if you rush someone, you could also ruin them. But I do think, we do need to let some of these guys come up sooner because we do hold them down for a very long period of time.
Yeah, having Paul DeYoung struggle the way that he has, I mean, really the contract we give him is pretty team friendly. It's not breaking the bank to have him. Hitting 200 isn't ideal for any ball player, so we hate to see him struggle like that. I do think the shortstop free agent class is something that this team could go out and get a Correa. I don't think they'll go for a Baez, but there is some guys out there, Seager and Story, that could be a difference maker in the lineup. But again, I don't know what kind of moves the Cardinals have, planned that can improve this team. We've all thought maybe the coaching staff would have a little bit of a shakeup with seeing the struggles that have went on. You see the Padres fired their pitching coach, and I thought, well, maybe Maddox's seat's getting warm, but it just kind of depends. I think there's going to be a lot of shakeups. I don't know if the coaching staff is going to be something that gets addressed, but the Cardinals do have some pressing needs that they need to address. Aside from, like I said, it would be awesome to get those 3 guys for a farewell tour, but there needs to be something to help this team compete. And I think they kind of threw all the cards in one hat. As far as getting Arenado, they thought that was just going to be enough to seal the deal for the Cards. They couldn't really predict that players are going to get injured. You're not going to predict, some of the guys' struggles that, we've had. But you see other teams go out there and make these moves that, even if it's on the fly, addressing needs where, it was half a season that we couldn't have a pitcher throw the ball over home plate. And we did go out and get some non-sexy guys in LeBlanc and Lester and Happ that at least they're throwing the ball over the plate when they pitched. And you saw some success from that, and I think the Cardinals waited too long to address that this season. And I don't want to see them make that same mistake.
Well, I mean, as a Cardinals fan, we sit and look at it, and we're a mid-major market. The Cubs are in one of the largest markets there are. They gutted their franchise. And so a couple of reports I've read is right now that they're talking Baez may return, and even some other players may come back to Chicago next year. That it may have been like when they made the trade a couple of years ago in 2016 to get Adolis Chapman. That he went right back to the Yankees. The Yankees got some talent out of the deal, and that's that. But even looking across the board, I was just kind of looking at salaries and team payroll. I guess I was unaware that Cleveland Indians, they're paying their whole salary is only $23 million a year for the entire team. And I mean, this is right now. They're the lowest payroll in Major League Baseball right now. They are $23,555. That's total team payroll. And and Pittsburgh's even above them at $40 million. But then you go up here and you look at like the Tampa Bay Rays at $43 million. And yet they're still in the hunt. I was sharing with you guys the other day. I said, they've had more starts from pitchers this year than any other team in the history of MLB. They had 66 pitchers make a starting rotation nod.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
I think they're at the top every year, though.
And
for the most
well,
part.
last 2 years for sure. But this year they actually set the record.
They like to do the opener and let
opener.
guys make spot starts along.
But
Which I think has been kind of smart.
The other thing is I was really shocked about was their offense is also leading the league in strikeouts, but yet they're still in the hunt. So we talk about non-productive or productive outs. That means they're getting the most out of a productive out is what it means, or they wouldn't be scoring the runs they're scoring. And like Jared said, I mean, when you've got guys they brought up just to pitch one game, they brought up some guy who's like 34 years old to pitch. They brought him up. He didn't even get in the game. They released him the next day, and they brought up another guy, 28 years old, didn't even make a single start in AA or AAA. He started the game, pitched 3 batters, and they pulled him and they cut him. So, I mean, are we going to, hey, the guy in left field, come on down. We're going to let you throw an inning, and it seems like it's getting that bad. But yet, they're talking about like expansion again. Hell, the teams that are there now don't have pitching. So it's, I think watered down baseball is going to get worse.
It could, I mean, it's, I don't know.
You've also got the retooling of the draft where they took out several rounds where we've got a lot of star players that are in the league today that came out of these late rounds don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Not to jump from one topic to the other, but there was some excitement with seeing the inductions of some Cardinal Hall of Famers. You had Keith Hernandez and John Tudor, Bill White, and Tommy Herr, get their induction and Red Jackets. So, that was very cool to see. Being an 80s baby, I love seeing those teams and, a lot of good memories of seeing those guys on the field. I think, we're kind of blessed with some of the guys we're seeing now that I think it's obvious that Wainwright Molina will be Red Jacket wearers. Matt Carpenter will probably get one. And, we had talked before Colton Wong got traded that maybe his trajectory was that he would end up with one. Just your thoughts on seeing the guys over getting the induction as far as Tommy Herr and John Tudor and Keith Hernandez. What are you guys' thoughts on getting to see those guys enshrined?
I mean, since Larry's so old, like he keeps talking about, he probably was happier than we were. But it was kind of cool. I remember watching Tudor play and stuff. I mean, it's always good whenever you see the nostalgia with Cardinals baseball and the legends coming back and being recognized. I think the Cardinals probably do, minus maybe the Yankees and the Red Sox. They're even the Cubs for having a long storied history. You don't hear them, you don't have the Blue Jackets and you don't have all the history and nostalgia like you do in St. Louis. I think that's one thing the Cubs haven't done as well, because you have guys like Dawson and I'm forgetting what Grace. You have guys like that
Grace,
played there.
Sandberg.
Yeah, you have guys that played there for a long time that when they leave, you just don't hear from them anymore. So it's kind of nice to see, the Cardinals do that. With the Red Sox and the Yankees, I don't think anyone else does it quite like the Cardinals. But I do have a roundabout flip. Okay, since we're talking about Red Jackets and letting these guys go into the sunset, you said you think obviously Waino and Yadier are going to get Red Jackets, and Yadi's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But you said you think Matt Carpenter might get a Red Jacket, Chris. You think he's going to get one?
I think he gets one. I think longevity kind of plays in his favor on that, where he did climb some ranks on the all-time list for some Cardinal stats. So even though the last 2-3 years he's fell off, he was a fan favorite.
He had a few really good years. I don't think a lot of people realize how good he was.
Yeah, and I think being a fan favorite, having those really productive years that he had, where he was the spark plug where you plugged him in anywhere you needed to. It wasn't just like, here's our second baseman, here's our third baseman. Like, he done everything you asked him to, except the last couple of seasons not being able to hit. I don't think that's going to be his lasting moment for the Cardinals and the fans, is just seeing the shell of the man that he used to be. I think he gets in. One player that has kind of been brought up in our group is somebody that's getting ready to have a bobblehead night, and that's David Freese. He had
thinking this. I was going to ask you if you'd give him a Red Jacket.
That's really tough, because I mean, he had such a short stint with the Cardinals. He had the iconic moments, and you can appreciate those moments, but are those moments worthy of the red jacket. I don't know that they are, and I hate saying that.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, David Freese had a really one good year and one good postseason, and he was really bad at the end too, especially 2013 when we went back to the playoffs in the World Series. He was horrible. It was almost like Alan Craig that he fell off the face of the earth, and he ended up turning that into, I think he adjusted some things, after he went to the Angels and then had a pretty good run with the Dodgers, and I think he was with the Pirates there at the end, that he ended up making himself into having a pretty good career. But it's kind of like how we talked about, is it worth bringing Pujols back for a year? Well, people get so worried about Freese, who had a pretty short career as a Cardinal. I mean, what was it, 4 or 5 seasons? But you go back and look at the memories, but then you look at Pujols' memories, the home run off Brad Lidge and that kind of thing. So, I don't know. Me personally, just for nostalgia, and I guess I'm going off the heartstrings tonight or whatever. I do think Freese should have a red jacket, just because those memories of winning the World Series and tying all that in, and just like bringing everyone, for like Cardinals baseball and reliving the moment that is so hard to relive, and some fans don't even get to live that moment with their team. I say just give them not that we're just handing out red jackets, but winning a World Series is a pretty big deal.
Well, I mean, talking about those guys that got red jackets here just recently, John Tudor from the 80s is just now getting a red jacket. He has a street named after him, coming into the stadium, and yet it took him this long to get him a jacket. And he single-handedly carried the Cardinals to World Series coming down the stretch. And then you look at guys, again, we're going to have that Keith Hernandez argument again, whatever. I mean, I see both sides. I mean, he was defensively the best first baseman I've ever seen play, but all the other off-field actions and all that, I don't know how do you count that in or not, whatever. But again, Bill White, I can't really tell you a lot about, I'm sorry. But, you look at David Freese and you say, okay, so when you think of Dave Freese, you think of what? 3 at-bats. I mean, seriously, that's what it comes down to, 3 at-bats. And I mean, everything else he did this season, I get it. He played really well the seasons he was here. But then there at the end, like you said, I mean, he was being substituted for defensive movements. He wasn't hitting. He moved on to LA and even Pittsburgh, and he ended up playing more first base than he did third base because of lack of defensive movement. But you're still 3 at-bats, basically, is what the whole Freeze thing comes down to. Now, granted, they are memorable at-bats. But, okay, so what about Berkman? Do we bring Berkman, give him a red jacket? Because if it wasn't for Berkman, Freese would have never came to the plate. So now you're going to give him one?
I'm talking about the culmination thing. Berkman had basically 1 year he was on the team.
I mean, but your heartstrings, you're nostalgic, and you're
But
being
if I ask you to pull up 3 of your top Cardinal, it might be tough for you, but if I ask,
I'll say,
because, well, I mean, you were around for the championships in the 60s.
hey, baby,
40s.
Ozzie Smith, man. Hey, baby. He was
We
the
didn't get
one-man
to see
show,
him
dude.
play the Browns, Larry.
I know.
But I mean, really,
it.
it probably is one of your top memories, right? If I say, Larry, tell me like 3 that it might be. I know it isn't mine, and it probably isn't Chris's. But in my defense, you saw some really good memories.
I did.
82, 85 that I didn't get to see.
Right.
But I've seen them since.
Sure.
But watching them live on TV, I think it probably resonates more with probably the younger social media fan base, because that's all we know.
And kind of, so where I was going with this was what's going to come down to, again, it's a fan voting. So if Freese is one of, like, let's say 5 potential vote getters, who do they put him against? That's going to be the difference right there. Are you going to vote for Wally Johnson versus David Freese, and you're the kid with the internet? You're going to vote for Freese. And so that's the differences. And that's what I was going to say with Carpenter. It's the same thing. You get a guy right now, some of our guys from the group, Carpenter can't do anything right. He never did anything right. He was the worst Cardinal player of all time, because that's his mindset today. But we go back and we look at those days, even like, the Salsa era, when he was, the Cubs kept pitching to him. We couldn't figure out why, but they did. The fact that he's the all-time leading on-base percentage for leadoff hitter. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, he got on base and he played wherever they wanted to play. I get it. But it's, 3 memorable things that I can pull up my mind, and David Freese is right there, man. I'm not going to say he's not. Albert Pujols, the home run that broke Brad Lidge, That was, those guys, it happened. But I also remember Terry Pendleton barehanding a ball at third base, throwing across the diamond. I remember, and that's that Tommy Herr throwing from his knees when that wasn't an everyday occurrence. And so those kind of things do come back to more memories. And I get it that, I am ancient and old as dirt, as my wife says. And I knew Moses when he wore short pants. But so it is what it is. It's still baseball. And that's the good thing about baseball. Even like the recent game, the Field of Dreams game, whether or not you're a Yankees fan or White Sox fan or whatever, it was still nostalgic. It was still a great presentation. It was a great gamemanship as far as the presentation in the game itself. And I know fans were upset when they seen the next year's game schedule, but to me, I think that should be a White Sox game all the time. And the reason is because whenever you think about that game, you think about Shoeless Joe Jackson, the White Sox. That's basically the movie revolves around that. And that's how you kind of see it. Nobody really stops and thinks about, that the kid that caught his dad was the Yankee. He wasn't a White Sox. So, that's kind of the resemblance there as well. But I get the nostalgia, man. I love Cardinals baseball. And the reason I'm a Cardinals fan is because it is nostalgic, because it is the birds on the bat and, the sayings before the game we've all seen. And even like you said a minute ago about the Cubs, they don't do such a great, most of their players, they leave, they're mad at the organization. They leave. I mean, Sandberg's not speaking to the Cubs because they wouldn't hire him as a manager. Grace, they trade him off to Arizona and he wasn't happy, and so there was a lot of dysfunctional when they left. I mean, right now you got 3 players that were just traded. 2 of them have been in the paper yelling about the general manager. So Cardinals have always embraced that history. And I think that's what makes us all such great Cardinals fans. And that's, even like the Mike Shannon, this is 50th year, his last year on the radio, as much as he butchers the names in the game, it's Cardinals memories. It's that voice on the radio, like missing Jack Buck, and that's the voice I grew up with, guys. I mean, KMOX, the reason I'm a Cardinals fan is because that was the only radio station I could get in Terre Haute, Indiana at night that had a game on. And that's the only reason I'm a Cardinals fan. I could listen to the games. And I fell in love with the team in the 80s. And I mean, the fastest show on turf was not something that the LA or the Rams came up with. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll touch on Mike Shannon, for a second here. But one of the things in the group that's happened with seeing these guys get inducted in the Cardinal Hall of Fame is some of them, like a David Freese, still comes around and is involved. Like he loves St. Louis. Mark McGwire, on the other hand, I know he's a different cat. He's kind of out of the spotlight or whatever, but it's like has not came to any ceremonies once he's been inducted. I get it that he was coaching there for a while, but now like he's out of baseball. I think he coaches his kids or something. But you can't fly in, for one, ceremony or something. That kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth when you see somebody that I loved Big Mac's time here, and you got Big Mac land. Well, Big Mac's like a ghost when it comes to any kind of, Cardinal moments of having teams brought back and, player reverence, and it's just weird to me. And for me, David Freese is somebody who fans would clamor to, but he embraces that. Whereas like fans go crazy for Big Mac, and he don't want no part of it.
But yeah, you got to remember there's that stigma with him as well. He's got that black eye. And so I understand him kind of staying out of the spotlight, trying to avoid it, because maybe he's trying to avoid casting a bad light on those festivities by not showing up. Because there are a lot of fans that hate the guy because they, the injections, the needles, and, and all that going on. And so I understand that as well. But you got to remember, in Freese's book, he had to leave St. Louis because of psychological issues at home and the depression and all that. And when the book came out, he kind of put the Cardinals in a bad light at the time because he was getting a lot of pressure from the hometown fans and the people that knew him. He couldn't go in public in St. Louis, so he had to get away.
Yeah, well, I was pissed off at Freese when he first got, we traded him. Don't forget, we traded Tim Edmonds away to get Freese from the Padres. And he had a lot of ankle problems, which were caused by 2 vehicle accidents for drinking and driving. And a lot of people probably don't know that, but I used to get pissed off about it because he missed a lot of time because of his ankles. I'm like, well, if the guy wouldn't drink and drive and wreck his fucking car, he wouldn't have these problems. So, but a lot of things and people change, I guess, over time. But I don't know where I'm going with that. But to get a red jag, I mean, those memories for me, it's different. I remember my three main memories that stick out to me just in recent years because I watched them live was the home run that we talked about with Pujols off a lidge, David Freese, hitting the home run to win the game. The triple before that was nice, but the home run to win it. And and just like you guys probably, and we're lucky because we have some of these memories, and the Wainwright curveball to Beltran. Those are like the three of the big things that stand up for me. Going back and watching, the Go Crazy home run by Ozzie Smith was pretty amazing. I can go back and watch that and I have it saved because, watching those games in the past, now we can actually watch them. I have that game on my DVR. So a lot of that stuff is really cool, but just me and my memories, and you're absolutely right, Larry. It's going to be the keyboard warriors and a lot of these older players, which I'm glad they have the Red Jacket committee, because a lot of these older players, even some of the most recent ones, might not make it into the Cardinals Hall of Fame because fans don't do their research, and there's a lot of uneducated fans. Sorry if I'm offending you by saying that, then you're probably one of those fans. But we have a lot of fans that think they know, but they don't, and they don't know the history and what goes on and what it takes to put a team together. They just think you should do this because that sounds right, but they don't think about the logistics and the money of it. But yeah, I definitely think guys like you said, Larry, like Freese will probably get in, and Carp probably has a good chance just because of the fact if people are going to remember it, and all the people either hate Carp now or they love him. You have people that say they can't stand him. You have people that say I just wish he would get a chance. Still, there's like nobody in the middle.
So my question is I guess that is there because I guess I don't pay that close attention to it. When like Tommy Herr, how many times he been on this ballot voted before he got on this time? Was this the only time he's been on, or it's been on before? So let's say they have the voting and it comes out it's Yachty, Carp, and Freese all the same time, and you get to pick two of the three. So now you're going to pick Freese and you're going to pick Yachty. But what if the other guy is Wainwright? What if the other guy, the fourth guy? See now, because you got to remember, they're always picking that guy from the historically side that they're going to give them the chance that never had that opportunity before, the guys in the 30s, the 40s, what have you. But so then you add in, let's say those three guys, if it's Wainwright, Yachty, and Freese or Carpenter, either one of them. So, well, you're going to vote for Yachty and Waino because you don't want them to go in together, put on the Red Jackets together because, again, the heartstrings and nostalgic. So now you push them off the ballot. The other two, do they come back on the ballot the next year?
I mean, it could be something crazy like that, and they may end up bending the rules. I mean, we'll just pretend that the Cardinals do bring back Pujols and that him and Molina and Wainwright retire at the same time, which means they're all eligible at the same time. If those three come up, I don't think there's any way in hell that you don't put all three, even on the ballot, don't even need a ballot filled out. Like those three just get in. Here's your jacket.
I would say Yachty and Waino it would almost be fitting that they go in together.
Right.
Not the Hall of Fame, but the Cardinals Hall of Fame, especially because Waino might fall short of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think Wainwright does fall short. And to Jared's point, too, when he's talking about, like, fans not doing the research, I mean, somebody like a Matt Morris, when we did our thing a few months ago, and we're really digging into the stats, he's a pitcher that, not saying I totally forgot about, but you forget how good he was, and what he brought to the team. And you don't want to see a guy like that continue to get, I'm not going to say buried is the right word, but pushed aside, while some of the newer guys are getting put in. And I know he's played since Tommy Herr and John Tudor did. So, I mean, and Keith Hernandez. So I get that part of it, but I don't want to see him leapfrogged by some of the fresh faces like a David Freese or something like that. Like I think somebody like that can wait while guys like that do get their just due. And to go to what Larry was talking about with Mike Shannon, we've caught a lot of people in the group, and I have listened to quite a few radio broadcasts this year. Mike Shannon doesn't have it anymore. We know why. I mean, it's his age. He's battled with COVID, and he's not healthy, And it's kind of the same thing with McCarver hanging it up. Um, some people didn't like McCarver doing broadcast with, Dan McLaughlin. Some people don't like Mike Shannon on the radio because he hacks people's name, or he kind of known for being a drunk at times. But I think 50 years, you went into the season knowing it was going to be his 50th year. I hate seeing some of these guys just totally, they're trash, they're garbage. The same way they talk about players, that if they're not on par with being, I don't know who you'd even want to compare it to, but they're ready to move on. I get wanting to enjoy a broadcast. I get that. But you get the same ones that are watching the ones now. Dan McLaughlin's good, and yeah, he's damn good. And to have Jim Edmonds on there, I love Jim Edmonds' take. He's really insightful. Brad Thompson.
I love Brad Thompson too. I agree with you.
Yeah, Brad Thompson's good. I didn't mind it when, Al Herbosky and even, Horton. I'm not really the biggest fan of Horton, but I think all the guys that we have doing broadcasts bring something to the table, and I don't hate it. I listen to some other teams' broadcast.
Well, I don't think we have Mike Shannon is not as appreciated, and you guys will probably agree with me, is because listening to the Cardinals game on the radio is a thing of the past and something that modern fans don't do. A lot of people probably haven't heard a lot of his games because radio is just, I think most people probably listen to AM and FM radio now too, listen to a sports game, but it's people like us. My dad, when he would watch, Cardinal games, he would mute the TV and turn on the radio and listen to Shannon and Buck. And, you would always know, you would hear him call a home run, then you'd run to the TV if you were in the other room because you knew it was a couple seconds later. But so I think a lot of people don't appreciate that the same in the days of the golden voices of baseball, like your
Harry Carey.
I know I was gonna say Gordon Sully instead of Vin Scully.
Harry Carey,
Gordon Sully as well, Chris. Those guys in the Mike Shannons and the Bucks of the world are kind of a thing. It's all TV now. It's just different media.
Yeah, but they even now a lot of these fans don't even like the people that are on the TV. So, and the amazing thing with me is I always say the same thing over and over. If you don't like what they have to say, there's this little button called the volume. Use it. Turn it off. Make up your own sound to the game. Who cares?
And people are bitching nonstop. It just gets on my nerves.
Well, it's I don't know, 40-some thousand people have nothing better to do, Chris. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Dan Lawless.
Everybody says bigger and noise better, but
when we had 12 people, we had good baseball talk.
Yeah, it is
Kurt, right, Kurt?
Right. And to hear some of them that, like, I agree with you. If you don't like what they're saying, hit the mute button. But they're like, man, Jimmy's talking too much, or Brad's, cracking jokes, or Horton and Dan are kind of being cruel. Well, guess what? They're not going to sit there and be like, well, ball's thrown across home plate, strike. Guy swings at a pitch, strike. I mean, that's boring. You're going to talk about shit. You're going to analyze, what a player needs to do or what they've seen. And when a team's struggling, you're not going to go out there and be like, well, this team's, unless you're Mike Schilt on a post-game interview or we're fighting our tails off, whoop-de-fucking-do.
Do you remember when the Cubs let Joe Carter do games? They ended up firing the guy because he said something negative about the team. And on a broadcast, he said, why is this guy still here is beyond me. The guy was batting like 119, and they basically came in a couple innings later, and Joe Carter had to leave the broadcast. So it could be a lot worse. And I'm not, I mean, the Jimmy Edmonds insights, I love it. I'm sorry, I do. The fact that, that he can tell you at this time, this is what he needs to be looking for. Because if you've never stood in that batter's box and seen that, and that we don't know what that's like to face down a 103 mile an hour fastball, but yet he can tell you that, or, at this time, this guy here, I should be positioning more left center than right center. And those are the things, the insights. And like you said, how boring is it if the guy just goes, yeah, 3-2 pitch. It's another ball. He's going to take his base. And is that what they want? I want the excitement, man. I mean, my ringtone on phones when they first allowed voice ringtones was, get up, folks. It's out of here. That Jack Buck call was my ringtone on my phone for about a year and a half. And because that was the memories that I had as a kid. And now these people just, I guess it's just the whole concept. It's got to be now. And even like the win and losses, I look at some of these people complaining and I look at them and I say, you're 23. You've never seen a losing season in St. Louis in your life. And you're bitching because what? I mean, like you said, LA has the greatest player of our generation playing in center field when he's not hurt. And they can't win to get in the playoffs in Mike Trout. And then they got Shohei Ohtani. You know, he's a phenom. And they can't get to playoffs. And we're bitching because Matt Carpenter's batting 200, you know, and that's what kills me. It just slays me, man. It just does. Well, why didn't Mo go get Mike Trout in the trading deadline?
Well, who's the third baseman again? I'm going blank on him. Chris.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Exactly.
You're muted.
Anthony Rendon.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, one of the top third basemen in baseball until he went there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is no blueprint. We've talked about that till we're blue in the face too. That the Yankees and the Dodgers, they throw money out there, and the Yankees, we won a title since they have. The Dodgers won theirs in a shortened season. Look how much money and talent they bring in. It's not. I don't know. I've always balanced that, wanting us to do more than what we do, but understanding that it's stupid to go out there and bring in 15 all-stars on a team and not get it done. Like, I can't imagine being a fan of that team and seeing it be like, fuck this. At least some of our guys, we are calling up, Carlson, getting to watch him, get groomed to be great. We're seeing some young guys, and we do go out and get an Arenado and Goldschmidt. Nobody in their right mind wouldn't have wanted those two in a Cardinal uniform. And we have two greats there. We've got two legends in Wainwright and Molina. I mean, there's something exciting, for any Cardinal fan for what we have, except for the totality of wins and losses right now.
Well, I mean, if we were hitting a little bit, how much would you appreciate Bader in center field with that defensive glove he's got? I mean, seriously, and that's what we miss. And think about today's fans. Ozzie Smith would have never made it on this team. I mean, he was the worst hitting shortstop in the league at the time. And Yadier Molina batting .214 his first 2 years in the season. These people would have cut him. If their logic would have been applied when he came into the league, they would have cut him. And that's the thing that I struggle with constantly. I've actually avoided the group at some point because of this, because I look at it and I say, okay, so now they're complaining that we released Lane Thomas and now he's hitting in Washington. And yet when he was here, all we heard was, let this kid go, cut him, he's horrible. And we release these guys, they go and they have a little bit of a success, and it's, oh my God, why did we let this guy go? He's a Hall of Famer. No, he's not. It's a surge. That's all it is. That's why they play a 162 game season, to avoid
never satisfied. Our fans are never satisfied.
No,
and I get that we are spoiled. We do expect to win, and we're kind of caught in the middle right now of, we can't accept that we're spoiled. We can't accept that a team like the Mariners haven't made the playoffs in 20 years. Like, when we bring that logic to the group, and they're like, but we're not the Mariners. We're the fucking Cardinals. And it's like, yeah, we are. And for you to have that mentality, you can thank Mr. DeWitt and John Mozeliak for that. The same guys that you are ready to fire are the reason why we have a competitive team every year. And for the ones that it's World Series or bust, we've thrown it in their face. Then 29 managers, 29 GMs, 29 owners need to be gone every year because it's not good enough.
Well, and the other thing that's really upset me, I guess, more this year than years past, is even like with the whole DeWitt and the apartments and the hotels. And I have news for you people. I went to Cardinals games in the 70s. I was scared for my life in downtown St. Louis. It was dark. It was dismal. It was horrible. Until they built Bush 3, it was awful downtown. And I'm not from St. Louis, so for me to drive into St. Louis, find a hotel, and try to find parking, that was a nightmare. And now it's baseball heaven. It really, truly is. And that's thanks to DeWitt and his family and their money. And whether people like it or not, okay, so let's say like right now, there's not a lot of people in the stands. So if DeWitt's losing money in the stadium, but yet his hotel's making money, he can still go buy those Seekers or those kids next year because he does have other money. But he's developing a product along with it. I mean, could you imagine? I don't know how many ballparks you've been to, Chris, but I know Jarrad travels a lot as well. You go to other stadiums, they don't have ballpark villages. I went to a game a couple years ago in Detroit. It's just on the corner, a bunch of stuff just around it, like parking lots and stuff. There's nothing there. The Cubs are in the middle of a business district with some bars around it. So for us to have what we have is just amazing. And to hear people just complain and bitch constantly about the DeWitts and their money and why aren't we winning, put it on the field. And I just don't get it. I'm sorry.
Those are just different types of business investments with different types of business partners. They're part of a group of people that, run
investors.
That just have the controllable stake. But, those real estate deals are trying to increase the whole experience of going to a ball game, which Ballpark Village is pretty fucking badass. And there's people that are around here that I know that have been back to St. Louis for training, and people always say, "Oh man, I went to Busch Stadium. That place across the street, that was pretty cool." A lot of people talk about that, and they're trying to get a tourist destination, and they're trying to bring more money in so they continue to, put a competitive product on the field. And this year they probably need it because you got to think last year teams probably did lose a shit ton of money. This year, with attendance not being what it has been, they're losing more money, especially the Cardinals. So any way they can supplement their income and bring more people to the ballpark, I think is a good thing.
But we got $1 gazillion from Fox. Don't you remember? We should be.
Well, everyone said once that deal kicked in, it would. But I think that money, when does that money kick in?
Separated out. It's separated out over like 7 or 8 years. So it's not like a lump sum payment. And now Fox doesn't even own. He isn't even there anymore. They sold out. So,
yeah, they're going to start doing the betting before too long. But I think you just have to wait and see because I think the Cardinals are going to make some moves next year. Might not be what people want. Like people are saying, you have to think about the longevity. Everyone says go get Scherzer and so now. I don't see Scherzer being a good option. I think if they can get someone, honestly, I think the Cardinals will take a look at someone like a Trevor Story or maybe even a Castellanos for a couple-year deal because he will obviously opt out. I could see the Cardinals definitely making a move of that sorts. And I would kind of like to see the Castellanos move, even though we think our outfield is set, just because I do like the intensity that he kind of brings to the field and has a little bit of that edge to him, like Tommy Pham had, but Tommy Pham was a dick. But the Castellanos, I would like to have somebody like that, but spending money on an old pitcher when everyone's already bitching about Waino and Yadi, but they say, go get Scherzer. Scherzer's not going to be around too much longer, anyways. And I just think if you can find someone like a good shortstop and you can package Paul DeYoung to another team, maybe with Kinsner, packaging to Way for like a 4-man spot in a rotation or a bullpen piece or two. I think that's a good move, but I don't really know, but I do think the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of arms like that I'd go after. Be like and not saying it has to be these guys, but like a Robbie Ray for the Blue Jays or a Carlos Rodon for the White Sox that are 29, 31. They've got a few good years left, before they're hitting what you call old age for MLB. If you go out and get a Scherzer, yes, he's elite, but you're getting him on the tail end, or a Greinke or it's just crazy. I wouldn't go after, a guy like that, especially when fans wanted us to go get Scherzer during the trade deadline. I'm like, why would you give up talent to get a guy that if you're that hell bent on getting him, you could offer him a contract this offseason and not have to part with top talent?
Well, but he also said, he made it clear. He said, if you're going to trade me to the coast.
He did.
And so I don't know what coast. I guess maybe the Mississippi River is a coast. I don't know to some people. So what does it even say that he wants to come to St. Louis? I mean, he was scorned by them once before. He may just say, you know what, I'm not ever going to play there. And that's just how it is. And that's what fans forget. You can throw all the money in the world at people and doesn't mean they're going to show up. David Price rings a bell. So
Same for Stanton, Stanton, when it was like
right.
we made all that offer to him, but as as a fan that loves the Cardinals, you think we're the Mecca, that everybody wants to come here. Well, a guy like Stanton has no ties to the Midwest. He had ambitions to, hey, if you're around a big market, you're going to get more commercial deals and advertisements. You can't fault the guy and be like, well, you piece of shit, you didn't want to come here. We're the Cardinals. Are you pissing on us like we're the Pirates? No, that's not the case. It's just this isn't for everybody.
Again, I mean, like I said, I'm not from St. Louis. I love the Redbirds, and that's that. As far as living in St. Louis, I'm not going to move there. I mean, it's not a diss on them. I'm not from St. Louis. If I had to pick, I would probably pick Miami or someplace like out nice and warm. And, and I don't care if there's any fans in the stand. I get paid whether they're there or not. I don't care. And so that's the part I think we miss, because even like, Chris Bryant said, St. Louis is the most boring town he's ever played in. There's nothing for him to do there when they're not playing. I mean, I've been at weekend games on Sunday nights, and St. Louis, the city it is, we couldn't find anything to do after 6:00 on a Sunday evening. So, and like I said, I'm not from St. Louis. I'm not trying to knock the city at all, but because they do a lot of things right. I mean, Emo's Pizza is pretty damn good. I like their barbecue. I love our Hall of Fame. I love Ballpark Village. But me not knowing the city as well as some people live there, it is kind of boring on a Sunday evening. And to be the Mecca of baseball world, there's nothing to do at 6:00 on a July night.
I don't know. You go to East St. Louis, try not to get shot. That's always fun.
Well, I was going to go there. I was going to be nice. But and that's the thing, because even in like East Chicago, it's just as bad. And so there's always that. But, you have to have something to attract them. And I think that's what DeWitt is long-term building. He's wanting to build that excitement downtown. He's wanting to bring those people in. Like Jarrad said, it's an attraction. I'm sorry, Six Flags over St. Louis is not an attraction anymore, people. There's one in every state now. You don't have to go to St. Louis to see that. And what's the other one? Boone's Farm or whatever the hell it is. The
Boone's Farm. I used to drink that when I was
whatever the farm is.
Farm is that cheap wine. You're
That's
thinking
right. Whatever the
farm.
farm is. Yeah. Where they keep the Clydesdales, But anyway. But even their zoos, the St. Louis Zoo used to be ranked as #1 in the world. Well, San Diego's a better zoo now, but St. Louis is still free. That's the difference. But, and times do change. It's not a knock on any place, but Giancarlo Stanton, why would he go to St. Louis? And I mean, I get the Scherzer thing. Oh, I'm sorry. He went to Missouri for college, and he's not really a St. Louis guy, guys. I'm sorry. I hate to be the one to tell you that, but he went to Missouri. But I don't get it where we think we're just going to go buy these players. They have the option to go where they want to go. And there's still this agent thing out there, if you guys haven't heard of him yet, that drives the price up beyond what we're willing to pay for a kid. So we do end up with those second tier free agents. You know what? We've ended up with some pretty good shortstops as second tiers. I believe we had a kid that ended up being the MVP in the World Series against Detroit. And he was a kid nobody wanted when we signed him. So, it happens, I don't know. Like I said, I guess I'm tired of hearing the bitching and the whining. And I've seen losing seasons. This is not a losing season. It's not a great season, but it's not a losing season. And I mean, I've seen where you basically, who's this guy again? And what's he got a ball out there standing on the mound? Because I've never heard this guy. I've never seen him anywhere before. And that was back in the day when you had to read Sporting News to know who the minor league kids were. It wasn't internets and everything else. You didn't know. If you didn't read, Baseball Weekly or the Boardwalk Baseball Review, you didn't know who these kids were. And every year, St. Louis was picked to finish 3rd or 4th in the division back then. And there was only 2 divisions. Way back, we threw rocks at each other. We hit with sticks.
Well, as we wrap up this show, I mean, we've got the next 10 games are all against the Central, with 4 against Pittsburgh, 3 against the Reds, and then you got 3 against the Brewers. I mean, we say every stretch is a make or break stretch for the Cardinals, but with 4 games out of the wild card, again, I think the division is pretty well. You might as well piss that goodbye. What do we need to do in these 10 games? Obviously, we'd like to say we win all 10, but realistically, what do you think needs to happen in these 10? And is this the make or break for the season? Where if we don't get it done, September is just a wash.
I mean, it could be if we do really bad. It could be, but you have to go out and you have to beat the Pirates, and I think you need to try to. My goal would be sweep the Pirates, win the series against the Reds, and try not to get swept by the Brewers. And because there's a lot of games in there that are matched. We've got the Dodgers and the Padres coming up. The Dodgers can be dangerous. We could. Like you said, these next 5 weeks are going to make or break us, but these next couple of weeks, the Padres are going to be in front of us in the standings, so we need to beat the Padres. The Padres are a team that can score 12 runs or can't do anything. So it's going to be interesting, but I think focusing on series wins is important, and against teams like the Pirates, you got to go out and get them.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I think if going against Pittsburgh, and it seems like we have talked about scheduling, and how weird shit is. Yeah, it seems like we played the Pirates like 4 or 5 series, in the last month. That it's just crazy. But this has to be 3 out of 4 ain't good enough against Pittsburgh. You have to sweep them this time, and I think you could get away with losing a game of this series if you would have took care of business in the last 2 by sweeping them both times. The Reds is a series where you have to win 2 or 3, but I even think beating up on Milwaukee, we have them 10 more games this year. And going into September, you have the Dodgers and Padres. You've got a tough-ass schedule in September against teams that are, either in the playoffs right now or on the brink. Even teams like the Mets that aren't completely out of it, they're going to be fighting, They're not teams that are going to lay down for us.
Other than the Pirates, every other team we play is good or
yeah.
Yeah,
in the hunt, except for Chicago. We played Milwaukee, we played the Dodgers for 4. Or maybe I'm cutting out, but we even played the Mets, who are still in the thick of things. You take a closer look at the wild card season. So,
yeah, I think we have to sweep the Pirates. If we lose a game to the Pirates, it's time to play the kids. But I think we have to sweep the Reds. I mean, it's not about the division. It's just we have to distance ourselves from the Reds. And if we beat the Reds, the Padres become our biggest threat. So then when we play them, we have to beat them. And so then is it going to put the Padres and the Reds back and forth still like they are now? So you're going to have to win definitely both of those. If you lose either one of those 2, you're done. It's done. It doesn't matter what you do. And I think if you even lose a game to the Pirates, your season might as well be over.
And I think it can happen. I mean, when we struggle against teams like the Detroit Tigers and Pittsburgh Pirates, it doesn't give you much faith going up against those powerhouses. And the Reds, they have played better than I thought they would. I had them predicted even behind the Cubs. I didn't know the Cubs would do a fire sale and get rid of everybody. But I thought the Reds' offense would be a threat, but I didn't think their arms would be enough to have some sustained success. So the Reds and the Brewers, I didn't think the Brewers were going to be as tough as what they are. Outside of Burns and Woodruff, I thought their pitching, they've got Hader at the back end who's filthy, but I didn't think the rest of the rotation was going to be enough to carry them. When you look at their offense, and Yelich isn't the Yelich of old, they just went out and got pieces that have come together and really been, I don't know, they've been playing out of this world, just like the Giants. I mean, who would have predicted them to be, owning that division while the Dodgers and Padres are playing catch up? It's just crazy.
Shows you not how much you spend.
That's true.
it's about getting the right pieces to put something together.
Yeah, well, much like this podcast, we got the right pieces with the trifecta here. I mean, I guess you could call us the Yadier Molina, the Adam Wainwright, and Albert Pujols. Bring us back next week as we'll wrap this up. But we do appreciate everybody tuning in like they do each and every time we put a podcast out. We're over 1,000 subscribers. Facebook page and group still thriving. We're glad that this week Jared was able to join us, and hopefully we can have the 3 of us back, on a regular permanent basis. It's fun talking.
Ratings go down. the ratings go down, I'm not coming back on for a while.
No, it's great to.
Jared's the Matt Carpenter of the trio.
Oh, bullshit.
Just kidding, Jared.
I was on the bench, and you guys, had a little rating spike there. Attendance went up, so.
Well, everybody kept tuning in, waiting for you to come back. It was that whole.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But no, it was
we
fun.
love you, brother.
Yeah.
On a good note, though, Blake Snell just struck out another Dodger. It's good. He's going for me tonight on my fantasy team, so I'm excited. That was what I was cheering about earlier.
Oh, so what are you up on me about 200 points this time?
For tonight, maybe a good 100. I thought you did good today, but not now. Blake Snell tearing it up. Watching the Padres Dodgers game over here, and I want him to do well, but I don't want the Padres to win. So I'm hoping he comes out.
That's the crazy thing about fantasy ball is I've got a couple Cardinals, but I've got some that, I'm like, damn, I hope they do well, but I hope their team loses. And
I'm the same way. Who are they playing? I hope he does good for 5, gets a win, or gets a win. Right.
No, but again, we appreciate everybody that's checked this out and tuned in. And, for those that do tune in each and every week, the fact that we've had some hiatuses, it is summertime where we've got stuff going on. It's not that we don't want to put out a weekly show and that we've got away from that format. We're busy. We know that everybody's got stuff going on, but we appreciate everybody that takes time to watch us here on YouTube and listens on the audio versions that it's available on, all the places you can get a podcast. So we do appreciate all the support and nice feedback. The comments, leave us a comment, on the YouTube videos and let us know what you think. Whether you agree or disagree, you can always, chime in and tell Larry he's wrong. We kind of enjoy that. It's, we do that too in our messages that we send back and forth. Yeah.
I've been wrong. When?
Twice yesterday.
Okay.
But again, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in and thank these guys for joining. Any final words that you guys want to shout out to the Cardinals Nation 24/7?
Welcome back, Jared. You were missed, buddy.
Thanks. Coming to you live from the hotel room. But it's just been tough because we've all had stuff going on. I know Chris has had a lot of personal stuff with family and running all over the place. I know Larry's done some traveling and been buying boats and spending a lot of cash. And then I've been traveling a lot for work. So it's have to stay in. We're not all Larry Cox, so I got to keep working and being on the road. You're not all your big deals.
I'm just glad I got this big contract to do these podcasts. So I can afford boats.
There you go.
Hey, go Cardinals.
Well, I was on a couple of shows. Larry demanded a contract raise, so they had to cut some money. I'm just doing a few home games now. I'm on the outward schedule.
You even lost your backdrop behind you there, Jared. We sold off all the bobbleheads.
This is a nice hotel.
So, hey, go Cardinals. Good night.
Signing off. Go Cards.
Go Cards.